I find it very strange in itself that when I read some YouTube comments, I've read this more than once. It said that plants themselves don't have consciousness, which I find very strange, considering the fact that they are sentient beings that feel pain and suffering just like animals can. Not to mention, people will always acknowledge animal suffering, but they never acknowledge any suffering when it comes to plants and trees. Why is that, I wonder? It's funny because there has been a famous social experiment done on plants whether they can feel pain or not. They had two guys in this experiment where they wanted to see what the plant's reactions would be if he treated it nicely or if he treated it with nothing but pure cruelty. They had one guy assigned to poke needles in the leaves and the other guy to be nice to it and you know feed it with water and everything like that. And what's funny is that they even had machines that could actually read the plant's emotional responses. You see, according to the machine that actually read the plant's emotional responses, one of them was actually very good, and it was treated very nicely, and it was reacting very well to the first guy who was being nice to it, feeding it, and catering to its needs and everything. But then when the other guy came in, he kept poking holes in the leaves a lot. He kept hitting it, he kept poking holes in it. And then they did this for about a few days or a week at the most. And what was funny is that the machine, when it read the emotional response spiked through the roof because it had an intense response and a reaction coming from the guy who was actually treating it harshly. And the funny thing is that, the next week, even when that guy who's treating it with who was abusing that plant, he just walked by that plant, but the machine, but the machine's, but the machine that actually read the emotional response, it spiked again. So that experiment itself has proven that plants can feel pain and suffering just like animals and human beings do. So I find it very weird that animal abuse is mentioned so much, but no one ever talks about plants being abused. What about those people cutting trees by the thousands just so paper can be manufactured and paper can be made? I mean, if you keep cutting too much of them, then that's not only going to affect trees, and that doesn't only mean that trees will die too soon. But you see, if you cut a lot of trees, that eventually affects us. Because the way it works is like this: they breathe our carbon dioxide and they exhale oxygen. We breathe in the oxygen and we exhale the carbon dioxide. Therefore, it's a cycle, non-stop. We breathe in our oxygen, we exhale carbon dioxide. They inhale what we breathe and they exhale what we breathe. Yeah, so you see what I'm saying? It's a cycle. It just keeps going around in a circle like that. So I find it very weird that no one talks about plant abuse. No one talks about plant lives at all. But you see, plants do deserve rights. But I hear people talk more about animal rights and everything, which I find so weird. Animals deserve to live, and they deserve to live in peace. But what about the plants? No one ever talks about how they're sentient beings. They feel pain, they feel suffering, they have emotions just like us human beings as well as animals do. So why doesn't anyone talk about that? I don't know. Because they don't communicate the way animals do. They don't make certain sounds and certain movements to show that they're in pain or they're happy or whatever. I mean, if they want to show that they're happy, I mean, I guess they'll blossom and be after you fed it or whatever, and they'll blossom and they'll grow to be vibrant and show signs of great vitality or whatever it is. But my point is that it's not as clear. Their way of deciphering the way they communicate with each other is very strange. They have a very different, unique way of communicating, and there have been many scientific, articles and studies done on this. It's very different and it's very sophisticated too. It's some kind of deciphering message. I don't know that much of the details for that part, but as far as animals and plants, they feel pain just as much as one another. They're sentient beings that have a consciousness. But when people say that plants don't have a consciousness, I find that very surprising, because they do. Many scientific studies have actually proven that from time and time again. They'll teach you this in social study. They'll teach you this in science classes in middle school, high school, and even elementary school. So why is it that adults on YouTube are saying that they don't have a consciousness? That to me doesn't make any sense. But anyway, this video was longer than intended. Give it a thumbs up if you like it. If you don't, you can watch another video. So anyway, thanks for watching. Take care.